Good morning. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Gonna get this message shared out on my own personal page. But good morning. Glad you're here today. Come on in. Give everybody a chance to get here if they can. Come on in. Come on in. There it is. Good morning. Hi, I'm Brad Smith. I am the original Car Smith, your automotive answer man, and it is time for the Saturday morning sales meeting. I want to welcome you all here today. Topic for today is setting yourself up for a 100% close rate. So one thing I can tell you is after years and years and years, and I'm talking about over a 30-year career in the automotive industry, there's one thing I can tell you. There is no magic close. There are ways to be able to phrase things, objections to overcome, lots of things that you can do, but there is no magic close. So how do you set yourself up for 100% close? The close is done 100% when you start greeting your customer. You see, the close, it happens, a transaction occurs, a sale is what ends up taking place when the value you provide exceeds the price they're going to pay by a minimum of 1 cent. The value perceived exceeds the amount they're going to pay by a minimum of 1%. This starts happening from that very initial greeting. So there's a lot of ways that I hear, because I'm on car lots almost every single day. So I'm greeted by a lot of people, many times salespeople that are very early onto the lots because they don't know my face yet. And they start greeting me in all sorts of different ways. And I've seen, can I help you? Or can I help you find somebody? Wow, what a cold greeting that is, right? You don't want to take care of me. You want to find me somebody else. To one of the best things that I've heard. Hi, and introduce themselves. What brings you here today? It's left totally open, but it starts setting up yourself for questions. And that's what I really want to get into. You see, we start building relationship and we start building value when we get to know our clients. How many times have you gotten all the way to the end of a close? You've actually had the close take place, you're helping fill out the credit application, and now you start asking them where they work, and it's the first time you've asked them. What? You don't know your customers any better than to get to filling out the finance application and you don't even know what they do for a living? My friends, you are in the wrong business. You're worried more about the sale today than creating the long-term relationship that will get you sales upon sales upon sales upon referrals, and you start building that network. If you're interested in the long-term goal, you need to start building relationships, and that comes from asking questions. What brings you in today, right? The other thing that I also like starting into, because those answers will be very, very brief, but also when you extend your hand and start shaking hands, make sure to introduce yourself looking them in the eye. If you don't get the response back from them as to who they are, ask them their name while you're still holding on and shaking their hand. They'll tell you, but sometimes you need to ask. You see, customers come on the lot in a very defensive position. They don't trust us. They don't like us. They don't really want to be there. They'd rather go see their dentist than get a tooth pulled than show up and buy a car today. The other thing I want you to understand is customers didn't wake up on a Saturday morning just to go in and say to themselves, you know, honey, what do you say we go down to a car lot and waste somebody's time today? They're there for a reason. They're there to buy a car. The only question is it going to be with you or somebody else? So it's in building that relationship that ends up being what in driving you toward 100% sale. The next question I want you to be able to ask, and this is an easy one, is the car for you or for somebody else? Or maybe if you're dealing with a couple, is it for one of you or is it for somebody else? You see, there's only two answers, maybe three. It's either for one of the two of them, there's answer one or answer two, or it's somebody else. Maybe it's for a child, maybe it's for mom, maybe it's for work, but ask the question. Because now the next question to follow should be, how do you plan on using this? Is it for work or for pleasure? What else is there? Is it for work or is it pleasure? Ask them how they'll primarily be using it. Is this a daily commuter? Is it something that you run the kids around in? Right? Hopefully, when you ask them what brought them in today, they told you they were already there to see a specific vehicle. You see, most customers today have already done their research. They already have an idea what it is they want. They already have an idea what it is they want to look at. So the next question, instead of rushing them right out to go see that Honda Accord, that Ford Explorer, that Toyota Camry, whatever the vehicle is, ask them another question. Maybe it's while you're walking that way to go show them the inventory, but ask them a question. What interested you in that vehicle? Right? What interests you in that vehicle? Maybe it's a used car that you're showing. What interests you in that vehicle? Because if that vehicle isn't quite right, if it's out of gas, if it won't start, you've already lost that sale on that car. Have a backup plan. What interested you in that vehicle? Because we want to be able to move them into something else. You see, sometimes we also find that the vehicle they really came in on is still in recon. Maybe it got sold last week, and they saw it the other day on your website and assumed it would still be there. Maybe it's not available anymore. Maybe somebody else is in the middle of showing it. Have something else in mind that you can move them to, if indeed that's what is going on. But you need to ask what interested you in that vehicle to have an idea what it is that you can move them to. Maybe it was price. Maybe it was low miles. Maybe they like the looks of that year, make, model. And do you have another one? Maybe if it was price, was it price on that car? Was it that price range? Start asking questions. Don't let simple answers define you and you assume that you know. Ask questions. Maybe it was because they've already been to their credit union and they have X number of dollars approved. So maybe that we can start looking and showing vehicles based on the way that they answer your questions. But you have to ask questions to do it. I hope that you, at this point, have already become so skilled that by the time you get to the car, you've already found out what their buying motives are. You see, what you really need to know up front is, are they coming there looking for a vehicle out of need or out of want? Now, there isn't a question that you can necessarily ask, because you don't want to be so bold to ask them, are they buying out of need or out of want? Because you'll put them on a defensive position. But in asking them what brings them in, many times you can help pull out the type of thing that will indicate that this is out of need or out of want based on the way they answer your questions. You see, many times people will also tell you what their buying motives are in an anagram, and it's something simple as the word spaced. Is it safety? Is it performance? Is it appearance? Is it comfort or convenience? Is it economy? Or is it dependability? And by the time that you've gotten to the position where you're ready to start doing your demonstration, your walk around of the vehicle, you've learned those answers so that you can modify your presentation to make sure that you're speaking to their needs. You see, it doesn't do any good to talk about the comfort and the convenience and the safety if all they're interested in is performance. It doesn't do any good to talk about the dependability if all they're interested in is the economy. Let me rephrase that, because economy can also come across in long-term dependability, right? If I don't have to plan on spending a lot of money in repairs, if this car is going to last me a long time, that's economy as well. It's economics. But find out what their buying motives are. Do what it takes in order to get to the right walk-around presentation. Hopefully at that point, you've done the full demonstration of the vehicle. You've explained where all of these options are. You've explained how they work. Now it's time for the demo drive. Now, I've heard lots of ways to be able to do it, and sometimes we're locked in on the demo drive because of the way we've been taught for years. It's a planned route. It should last about 5 minutes. It's nothing more than right-hand turns. My friends, that's from the 1970s and 80s. It was planned on a planned route with all right-hand turns because suspension wasn't what it was, because body had a lot of lean and not a lot of roll, and you were on a planned route. So that if the car broke down, you had another colleague that was coming by not long behind to be able to pick you up. My friends, we've got cell phones today. If we have a problem, we can call for help. I've also heard, let the customer drive wherever it is they want to drive. I've actually had a colleague that I worked with that did that. And what he found was that he was sitting in the getaway car as a client walked in to rob a bank, jumped in the car, and took off the other way with him still inside. Sounds funny, didn't it? But that was actually real, and it was pretty darn scary. It was before cell phones. The guy did get a chance to get the guy to drop him off on the side of the highway, and he was able to hitchhike back into town. Scary story. And I'm not trying to scare you, but that doesn't work either, because sometimes your clients have come from a long way away and they're not familiar with the area around your dealership. Here's what I want you to do. When you've already been asking how they plan on using it, where they live, right? How they plan on using it on a regular basis. If they're somewhere in a close proximity, let's drive it on the route that they would drive every single day. Maybe it's running the kids to school. Maybe it's in driving to work. But driving that route is the route that they will feel most comfortable in. It's also a way they can easily compare their old vehicle to their new one. Now, here's the hardest part that most people have trouble with. Once you get in and you're in there for the demo drive, you're there to answer questions. You're there to be able to know what's going on with your car. But here's what I want you to do. Once they get in and you've explained the last little bit and you're out there ready to drive, get in the front passenger seat so you're right there to be able to show if they have questions. But shut up. That's right. Your selling was done before you started driving. It's time to shut up and listen. Customers will tell you what it is that you're going to need in order to be able to get the cues that you need to know that you're on the right car. They're as uncomfortable with the silence as you are. They will fill it by starting to either make statements or ask you questions. And now here's your time to learn. You'll learn what's important to them. You'll learn what it will take for you to be able to close. You'll learn because they'll start telling you the information that they don't have that they need before they are ready for the yes. By the time that you get back, and if you've had multiple drivers with you, hopefully you've switched, By the time you get back, do not pull it in the sold area. That is a pressure technique that will make your customer feel uncomfortable. Just park it up close to the dealership, close to the door. Don't park it back on the lot. Don't park it in the sold line. Just pull it in an empty space. Here's your opportunity to ask, is this the car? Did we pick the right car for you? Did we pick the right car for you, or did you want to look at something different? Did we pick the right car for you, or did you still have questions or concerns? If the answer is that they have other questions or concerns, they'll ask. If they don't, then we found the car. Now, if you've done a great job building value, but if you should be able to move in for an easy close, and now the only question is, are we in their budget? But if you're asking, did we find the right car? If they still got buying concerns, if it was a different color, if it was a different trim, they wanted one in leather, they wanted one with a sunroof, maybe we were on the wrong car because we didn't ask the right questions to begin with. But by now, you should be able to move in for your 100% close. Have you built value? Are you driving on routes that they feel comfortable with? Are you ready to make 100% close today? My friends, I want to thank you for being in here and watching. If this has been useful for you, if you learned something today and it helped make you a sale, come back and drop it in the comments. I hope, if nothing else, you start telling your friends there at the store to jump in and like our page. You see, we'll be building value. There'll be daily tips. There'll be things you can do to build, create sales, build profit, make yourselves more profitable for your used car manager, your new car manager, service department. Everybody in the store will learn something on this page. I am the original car smith, your automotive answer man, Brad Smith. Join me every Saturday for Saturday morning sales meeting, but look in here for daily tips as well. Robert, I'm glad you're here. Go back and watch this in replay. You'll get a lot out of it. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for the Saturday morning sales meeting. We'll see you then. Thanks. Bye now.